So a similar thing happened in his mazurkas as happened in a lot of the rest of his music. Again, they became bigger and more dramatic. The emotions got pushed to bigger, greater extremes. The first mazurka that I play is a real example of that. I mean, it's kind of a much more sort of epic mazurka that kind of builds up to a really, really big climax. It still has lots of elements of the dance are still in it, but again, it's a big, dramatic kind of piece. The second one that I'll play is a little bit gentler and more humorous, a little bit back to the earlier Chopin, but still has an incredible sort of sophistication of different things happening, a harmonic sophistication of very, very subtle and sometimes very strange harmonic changes. In fact, in the middle section of that, there's one place that Chopin actually mentioned to students that he always wanted to, he worked with them very, very hard to kind of have it played properly because he was particularly proud of that harmonic sequence that he had in there that was very unusual and wanted them to play it just right. And so they all knew they were going to play it over and over again if they got to a lesson with Chopin. And then I guess finally the last one is kind of moving into Chopin's late period. I mean, it's still written at the same time as these others, but it's very, very much moving in that direction. The mazurka elements, I mean, they're still there, but there are many, many sections that just sound like, improvised and just a kind of a regular, just composed piece. I mean, the opening element, which is kind of like this almost, the mazurka instrumentalists are improvising something just to kind of get the dancers gathered before the mazurka really starts. And Chopin takes this idea and turns it almost into like a Bach-ian fugue that has a mazurka kind of base to it, with all these different voices coming in, this wonderful complexity and density of things. And that's what happens in a lot of his late music. It becomes much denser in a contrapuntal way, and you could tell that he admired and studied Bach a great deal. Also, the harmonies become more and more constantly sort of chromatic, and there's an even bigger kind of subtlety and change from the different sections, and that happens in that last mazurka. And then finally, there's a little section just before the final climax. That's this long extended section that's so chromatic and strange. For long periods of time, you really cannot figure out what key he's actually in. As soon as you kind of have him pegged, he's going to D major. Nope, he's already modulated on to E. And a lot of the late pieces will have at least some section that's just totally disorienting in its constant changes of key.